any kind of consolidation, although it does appear that that could create some efficiencies at the administrative level. So I see why people will look at that. But I believe that actually the cause of our pain in budgets for schools is because of unfunded mandates coming out of Washington, D.C., such as No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top. And I don't think that we need to have our students and teachers subjected to these so-called standards and tests from Washington, D.C. especially. And I also don't think that the schools need to have that coming from Montpelier either. I think our local communities can take care of themselves. I think that they're all intelligent enough to make their own decisions about curriculum and spending and budgets. And I think that the school should be the center of every town, and that we need to go the other direction, back to small schools in every village that kids can get to easily, that are engaging centers of the community, where the costs are controlled and decided by local voters.
Ed Larson.
Well, my experience is one as a parent, also as one who was on the Extension Advisory Council working with the University of Vermont. Also, my experiences as a taxpayer, and as one who was a keen observer of the legislative process with the creation of Act 60, Act 68, and some of the newer laws that are in play. As a parent, it's been very positive. The teachers are excellent. The school in Montpelier is very nurturing. Works real hard on good core subjects. My son is doing very well in math and science and English. Even though he's in 8th grade, doesn't like school, he's still doing very well. As a taxpayer, I'm listening to a lot more folks on the campaign and they are concerned about the taxes. We do have declining enrollment, and we have increasing taxes. A lot of taxpayers are frustrated by the fact that even though the school board might do good work and even cut the budget, that they still see their taxes go up. And I'd like to see if we can address that. I've had some good conversations about different kinds of consolidation schemes at the administrative level. People are frustrated that they want local control, but they don't feel like they have it. I don't see that we do have it with Act 60 and Act 68. I think that that law is now not functioning any longer. It's no longer sustainable. We need to look at it and make some big changes.
Charlie Esmond.
I'm waiting for you to start. My experience in education in Vermont, premier experience has been to have had the privilege of being the director of the Vermont Governor's Institute of the Arts for more than 25 years, which is the premier program that we have for Vermont high school students that are interested in studying the arts. It's a 2-week intensive. I also have, as a theater performer and a theater teacher, performed and taught in almost every single school in the state. So I've been in the schools, I've worked with the teachers, and I've been there. But I want to take this time, because it's short, to say that I want to support education, starting in early care and education, right through to higher education. And sadly, Vermont is 50 out of 50 in support of higher education. But I'm going to put the accent on the other side, because I think one of the things that we need that can help our economy is to make strategic investments in education. And that strategic investment is making sure that when kids start kindergarten, they are ready to learn. There are too many children who come to kindergarten who, for whatever reason, don't have the experiences, the intellectual skills, they haven't had enough books read to them, and they are unprepared in kindergarten. If you start that race back, then what happens is we wind up following these children through their entire school career, quite often paying highly expensive special education prices, and many of them wind up in one of our correction facilities where we wind up paying more than $40,000 a year. And strategic investment early would be much cheaper than that.
Bill Good.
I'll start by saying that as a parent, I'm very pleased with our volunteer school system. All of our children love the schools they went to, and they some of them went on to Swarthmore and UVM, and they were very well prepared by the volunteer school system. I did chair the volunteer school boards for 4 years, and I noticed that the local board this year, in many cases, leveled funded their budget in a very difficult process. would say that the freshmen that I have in my class are unbelievable, as I told the reporter just earlier tonight. We brought them down to the State House and we probably was questioned for about 45 minutes. And I've never been more optimistic about our young people than the college students that I have.
Anthony Lena.
On a personal level, I've done some long-term subbing at U32 High School in East Montpelier. I've also taught at the community college and I've taught at Johnson State College. And for a number of years, I was the director of something called the Community High School, which is a community-based learning experience that was also out of Montpelier. Also, on a personal level, we've sent 2 kids to the Rumney Elementary School in Middlesex, and frankly, I thought the experience there was great. I thought it was a great school, and I think that if anything, when we think about public schools, what I think is that they deserve more respect. I mean, people talk a lot about the cost of public education. I don't think we talk enough about the value we get in Vermont for when we invest in public education, which is a very good value, one of the smartest states in the union. Our kids do test, in fact, very well. And I think what happens is because we're frustrated with other things in our economy, the cost of living, the cost of health care and whatnot, we tend to take some of that out of public schools because they're one of the last places where we can actually go and have an argument in front of everybody and like try to reduce costs by, laying off a teacher or cutting the gym program or the art program. So I think we'd do better if we didn't take our frustration out on our public schools and instead gave them the respect that they deserve. I think there's some discussion about consolidation, but I want to underscore a couple of things I've already said. One is that part of the problem is, in fact, the mandates out of Washington, D.C., which are more directed at making people teach the test instead of actually teaching the way that's best for all the children. We're not sending kids to public schools to become drones. We're sending kids to public schools because we want them to learn to become good citizens and develop the skills that allow people to learn how to learn, and that's what we need to do. I also am a little frustrated that towns like Barry that have already cut their budgets are now being told through challenges for change that they have to cut their budgets even more after they've worked to do the right thing all these years.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the audience. Would you support building a new nuclear power plant to replace Vermont Yankee? And if not, what other suggestions would you have for Vermont's energy future? Ann Cummings, we'll start with you.
Before I talk about, at this point, I wouldn't support doing a new nuclear power plant. I think that that's one large, massive program. I think that we would do a lot better for our economy to do small development of renewable energy, of alternative energy sources. I think that really that kind of green energy is our future. I think we need to be investing in students and inventors to help develop new technologies, not just say, well, this is what we've got. Right now, nuclear power is not offering us at Vermont Yankee any better than the market rates we get buying it from the grid. To try to cover the capital costs and cover that in a new plant, I don't think that we would get any kind of favorable rating in this day and age, just the cost of siting and putting it in. I think that there are, at this point, no way to dispose of nuclear waste, high level or low level. And the risk to health, the risk to safety, the environment, to me, are just too large at this point for us to go that route. I think we would be better off investing in these smaller, more localized generation systems.
Thank you. Gail Brown.
No, I've actually done the math on that question, and it's about $8 to $9 billion in capital to build a new nuclear power plant. If you wanted to power the entire state of Vermont with solar photovoltaic at today's prices, it would cost about $3.5 billion without any other